Hello there, you beautiful people, and welcome to the only game where a broadsword is the best weapon. It is Supreme Commander Force Alliance Forever, and today we're looking at a pro-level 2v2 played on the Naroxis map generator, so it's going to be a map made for this game, and this game only, and let's get into player introductions, starting with Team 1 up here in the north and ending with Team 2 down here in the south. And of course, before we do, make sure you have yourself a drink to stay hydrated and a snack, because it's gonna be a banger. And let's get right into player introduction, starting with the Pink Aeon Best faction, going first land and in a beautiful pink color. He is 1600 rated, and his name is Glassy. Very close to classy, and he chose the classiest faction as we move over to the east with the Yellow Aeon. Going first land, he is a very cool member of the community. It's no other than Rowan Morse, now known as Cupid, at 2300 rating. And he is a monster here today as we go ahead and go down to the south to check out the other players in this game, starting with the purple UEF going first land as an 1800 rated player, and his name is none other than Note. Then, of course, over to the west of him, we have ourselves a Gray Seraphim Worst faction, but we'll let it slide this time, as of course he's gone first land with 2000 rating to his name. It's none other than Azoros. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and check out this map, this beautiful map Jen made for us today. And of course, we need to check on very important numbers, such as the amount of reclaim on the map. We have 10.8 thousand reclaim for each of these players. Not actually, it's not for each of these, for all of these players combined, communism, for them to shovel into their coffers, turn into most likely boats. But we have a chance for this northern team to get very spicy by building the best units in the game. We are talking about the Ascendant and the Asylum, and to a lesser extent, the Blaze. Now, of course, one other thing we have to look at is the mass extractor distribution and how all of the water is going to be working in this map. So right here you can see on this side of the map, this area most likely will be claimed by Azoros. Meanwhile, this area over here is going to probably be split up towards Note, and the other side you will see something very similar. So the kind of carry position that we're expecting to see here is the slot that Azoros and Cupid are in respectively. Those two players should theoretically have the strongest economy here in the early to mid to late game. Now, of course, one thing we want to check on is going to be the conditions of the game. It is a full share game, and we have no early bombers coming out from these players, which is going to be very interesting. We're going to speed it up until a little bit of action goes on. It is a 20 by 20 kilometer, meaning that it takes a little bit of time for these players to wind up their fists to punch each other in the face. But while we wait, of course, I want to remind you to go down below, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and make sure you comment about your day. I really want to hear about what your day has been like. Has it been good? Has it been bad? Lay it on me. I'll be your therapist for the low cost of advertisements. And of course, down here to the south, we have a little bit of air action going on. Does seem as though Cupid is doing a little bit better with air. Does have his interceptor over the base of Note and is maybe going to win the interceptor fight. No, he does not. But unfortunately for Note right here, he's going to lose the interceptor fight in the long haul. Has 3 interceptors out from Glassy showing up here to ruin his day, as well as a straggler from Cupid. And this is going to be very fun. Also, I don't normally read chat. By the way, this has been casted live, but somebody said they didn't expect this game to be casted because Rowan in the Discord was sad about it. If a pro player is sad about the game, it actually increases the chance for me to cast it, because that means it's a pro game where something actually interesting happened. Pro players only like games if they crush it in 15 minutes, okay? Trust me on this one. Now, Of course, let's slow down to normal speed. We have a bomber down here to the southeast, out from Note, gonna be able to kill off a engineer. No, it misses! And unfortunately, since it's UEF, it just leaves oil on the ground, just a horrible oil spill. Very, very bad for the environment, but does manage to pick up another eco-friendly Aeon engineer, and that's going to be very sad. And unfortunately for Cupid down here, all of these mechs are going to be transferred over to Note very, very soon. We also have some Navy coming out. Our first little naval scrimmage over here. A Aeon Beacon class versus a Sao Issel. Or it's How Essel. Sorry, Sao Issel is a submarine, I think. Out from, of course, Zuros. And the Beacon class is going to win. Did not decide to abuse its range. And over here to the east, we also have a Thunderhead class out from Note. So right now, the Southern team doing quite a little bit better up against, in particular, Rowan as far as naval production is concerned. Only one naval factory so far for Glassy. Five naval factories over here in the east for Rowan. And of course, here in the south, we have ourselves 4 naval factories for both of these players. So the early game has been kicked off. We got these players harassing each other, hurting each other. The Thunderhead class is over here picking up a mechs, and Rowan is trying to throw up even more factories. He needs a lot of production to make things happen here. He has taken the lion's share of the mechs over here on this eastern side of the map for him. And over here to the west, we have a few more factories that were built up by Glassy, but unfortunately, these factories are going to be very, very sad very, very soon because they are going to be under prolonged siege from Zuros. And that means that all of this production most likely going to go down. The engineers here trying to build up torpedo launchers, they're dead. They're no longer here to live and breathe another day. And that entire area most likely going to fall apart in the short term. Even managing to ground fire with his How Essel is Zuros, the high-level play. This is a ground fire to stop the production of another submarine from finishing. But a Beacon class will finish very soon. And the submarines are fighting it out, but this submarine managed to use the naval factory as a shield at least a little bit and does survive. So actually, Glassy, with some very nice little micro plays here and there, just micromanaging it, making sure it goes well, has managed to hold on to that forward production base. Meanwhile, over here to the east, we have a few bombers out from Note trying to get some harassment damage down onto some some Beacon class frigates. And the double Aeon team of the north, you know I'm rooting for them because they chose the correct faction. They're struggling a little bit here in the early game naval play. They're really being outproduced by Zuros and Note. And right now, I think Rowan is trying to correct that. He's righting the ship, as it were. Pun entirely intended, by just getting out an entirely ridiculous amount of naval factories. Let's go ahead and check on that number. We're currently looking at a grand total of 16 naval factories, otherwise known as nearly 5,000 mass worth of naval factories. That is going to be very strong, but he needs to be a little bit careful. He cannot overinvest into these naval factories because he's already spent the cost of multiple T2 mexes or even almost 2 T3 mexes on these naval factories, and he does need to scale this economy very well. He is the strongest economic player right now, and his team overall is neck and neck with the enemy team. About 5 to 10 masts separating these two teams right now, and of course, that is not too significant, especially here sub 10 minutes. That will fluctuate up and down and back and forth and all around and inside the clowns. It will happen, and of course, one spicy thing going on over here to the east is Zuros dropping 5 engineers. Unfortunately, though, I have a feeling that these will not survive very long, as the interceptors out from Cupid are on point, and that leaves a nice juicy little bit of reclaim over here for this engineer of Cupid's to come pick up those extra juicy killed units. Now, of course, we have to talk about the economies yet again. We have ourselves reclaim numbers coming in here, and Cupid is leading the pack at 5.4 thousand reclaim, followed quickly by Zuros at 4.2 thousand, then by Note at 3.1 thousand, and 2.5 thousand for Glassy. So the reclaim is relatively even. Teams as a whole are very even on total mass generated. Team 2 a slight bit behind, and that's mostly thanks to reclaim numbers. And Team 1, we see Cupid here. He is really scaling up, and he has got a formidable navy now built up here in the center of the map, and that's going to be a bit dangerous. Glassy is holding out, but Glassy is finally going to lose that forward production he set up, but I think that he forced Azuros to invest quite a little bit to take this down, and he has gotten more production set up back at home, so he should be all right in the short term to not completely get naval locked. And right now, we are watching things go down. Over here to the east, a few submarines trying to get some damage out for Note. Unfortunately, this poking and prodding, this kind of attempt at some attritional damage, going to go very poorly for him. He's trying to get more submarines than Rowan has, but that's just, it seems like a losing battle. Rowan just needs to set a few of these factories, only build submarines to make sure this is never an issue, and he is going to be in a very good position. But at least for the short term, it does seem as though Note will get the submarine advantage. Gonna have to see if that results in anything big. Over here to the west, another naval engagement going on. This time, Azuros taking a very losing fight up against the entire armada out from Glassy. So that is going to be unfortunate for Azuros. Going to create a little bit of a reclaim field there. If Glassy can hold on to that area, he can get into the reclaim and be very happy with himself. Speaking of reclaim right now, Cupid doing very well to set themselves up with a lot of reclaiming engineers, and that reclaim number is just skyrocketing for him, already nearing 10,000 masses reclaimed overall. And now Cupid pushing into the production of Note. You have to remember, Note, he is an 1800. Most players in chat and in game right now would just absolutely get crushed by Note, but right now Cupid is making it look trivial to knock this man out of the water. He's gonna be a landlubber, and there is no hope for Azuros to really help out over here. Azuros has gotten up to T2 Navy. He's about to have a destroyer, but he is being harassed and harangued on by Glassy, so he can't really come over and help out his purple allies. So the UEF naval yards, they go down, and the Aeon Navy has supremacy over here in the eastern side of the map. Now over to the west, have a few units coming out from Glassy, trying to make their way in, trying to get some damage done. A huge naval battle is brewing over here in the center of the map. There are now torpedo bombers coming out of the base of Azuros. We need an interceptor response out from the northern team, but it's just not coming. And since Cupid is playing Aeon, the best faction, their frigates don't have AA, which is a little bit of a short-sighted move there, but they do have the Shard, and nobody ever built it. So, you know, probably the least built unit in FAF is the Shard. It's either the Shard or the Fire Beetle. Those are the two options for least built unit in FAF. Now, of course, maybe the Absolver too. You almost never see those. Now, over here in the center, there's a bit of a fight going on, and whoever wins this is going to be in a very good position. That's a lot of submarines coming out from Azuros. That's a destroyer. And now Rowan is going to be pushed back. Sorry that I keep on switching between Rowan and Cupid. My mind is an enigma. And we, of course, have T3 Air now finished up for the southern team. Note, maybe the reason he fell behind on Navy was to get this T3 Air. We're going to have to see if it pays off, because T3 Air has finished up now for Cupid, but he's still not finished up that Pigeon, so gonna have to wait a little bit of time before he can get out some ASF, and he's gonna be behind on the air game, and there is a strat bomber now coming out from Note. We have to track the progress of this very important unit. Gonna have to see how it does. Turns on the radar jamming. Unfortunately, that's not super useful when you fly right over the enemy navy. Some shards now starting to come out of the base of Cupid. I'm really happy to see him react in that way. We now, of course, have a Transcender AA trying to be thrown up as quickly as possible, but oh no, it's a disaster. All the engineers go down. A Mex goes down. More is gonna happen in the short term here. Interceptors are trying to catch up. The bomber is taking a significant amount of damage, but that's not enough. As long as 1 HP, it can drop a bomb, and it has a whole 1,000 of them to keep using to terrorize this northern team. And this strat bomber already up to 1 rank of veterancy. Make it 2 with the bombing onto that T2 Max. Oh, well, now make it 2. And right now, Glassy is going to lose so much of his economy. He already gave up so many mexes that arguably should have been his over to Cupid, and Cupid is somewhat failed his ally here, not being able to set up enough AA, and now a bomb comes in. A Mex and a lot of engineers go down. And another bomb is going to be dropped. 9,900. And now 10,000 up to 11,000 with that bomb. Actually 12. It's just gonna be absolutely brutal now for the northern team. They've lost so much economy in such a short time. They're down 50 mass a second. Sure, they have the naval advantage. Sure, there's naval fights going on. That Rowan could win. But the long-term economic prosperity of the Aeon Nation is at stake. And unfortunately, it seems that the Aeon players may not be up to snuff. These bombs, unfortunately, only really killing off mass storage instead of getting huge value here. Another ASF coming out of the factory of Cupid. He really wants to shut down this freaking bomber. Oh, is he going to be able to get it? Is he going to be able to get it? Oh, it's going to be close. He does manage it, and the bomber takes down one more T2 mechs and some T1 power to boot. And now we have a huge fight happening in the production of Azuros. This fight could decide the game if Azuros cannot manage to stop this heavy aggression coming out from the navy of the Aeon team. This might just be the end of the naval aspirations of this southern team. And I think it's fair to say that, oh no, it's a disaster for the southern team here today as they are dismantled, picked apart, and destroyed on all fronts that involve water. And that is not good on a map that is arguably like 80% water. Now, of course, they do have the air. They can try and go for an air control play. There is some rebuilt naval production over here in the southeastern corner for note, but it's going to be such a hard and difficult and arduous task for the southern team down here to make any real leeway towards winning the game without any naval control. Here soon, one of these two players will go for T3 Navy, and Torrents will hit everything. This is very, very unfortunate, but the T2 HQ for Cupid! Oh no, it's gonna go down! He's trying to build out a cruiser right there. Don't think the cruiser will particularly matter, even if it does finish. Sorry, I had something in my throat. Was being a little bit annoying there. I was making weird throaty noises. But hey, if you're not here for the throaty noises, what are you here for? And of course, the whalers. Well, they're whaling, and they are very... Oh, these are broadswords. The broadswords are cleaving down upon the Aeon peasantry and the poor civilians, the poor working class mass extractors going down, being slaughtered by the cruel and oppressive authoritarian regime that is the UEF. And today is a very sad day for all involved. More working class mexes going down. These blue collar workers living in a white collar world, and they're going to be very, very sad. The military industrial complex of the UEF is something to be stared at in awe and fear as these broadswords, they just keep getting damage done. I don't have any more ways of saying it. I've kind of gone over the same task like 6 or 7 times. There's so much damage going down. And now the naval advantage, I mean, is it worth anything if you can't protect your base anyways? SAM's going up across the board. Just so many T3 engineers building SAMs everywhere right now for Cupid. And a huge naval production yard has been built in the northwestern corner. They haven't been knocked out of the Navy yet. They're still just trucking along, trying to make something happen here with the Navy game. But they keep on getting shut down. The northern team playing a game of whack-a-mole with their naval units. And it is quite the show on display for us today. We now have a cohort, what is a flying group called? Like a group of planes. And it's not a cohort. It's not like, of course, it's not an armada. We have a flock of torpedo bombers. That's what we're gonna call it. It's a flock now. An air wing. I don't know, but we have a bunch of torpedo bombers coming over here to the west to try and kill off a lot of these naval units built up by Cupid. Establishing himself in the Navy is Azurus' main goal right now, and he's doing it by just putting engineers everywhere on the map and building as many naval factories as he can in whatever time he's given. And up here to the northwest, this naval production center looks like it's going to go down as well. But that's a lot of boats that just went down to torpedo bombers. And it does seem that Cupid has finally built up enough AA to protect himself, and he still has the strongest economy in the game. But Glassy in particular is really hurt as broadswords come in, and they're still just cleaving away. Let's look at the veterancy. We got 3 ranks of veterancy, 3 ranks, 3 ranks, 3 ranks, 3 ranks. It's the 3-star crew of 5, and they are so incredibly... Glassy may as well not be in the game at this point. Like, he has just been eliminated. He has been destroyed. He has been totally annihilated economically. Sure, he has some boats kicking around. Sure, he still has build power. Sure, he could rebuild. There is reclaim. And they won Navy. But the eternal caster question that we all must ask ourselves at the end of the day is, at what cost? And I think that cost was quite high, with these broadswords all killing nearly 10,000 mass individually. You just have to imagine that just a little bit more air control could have been just what Cupid needed in order to seal the fate on this game, but he was just a tiny bit behind on air production. Literally seconds decided the air game, and he's just unable to recover here. These broadswords now cleaving through the main base of Cupid, and man, oh man, is it brutal to watch. He's gotten so much value out of just a handful of broadswords. Even if they all die right now, I think they've served their purpose pretty damn well. And now Azuros is getting reestablished in the water, and that is going to be a problem, as he is a problem for the northern team, as they just don't have complete naval control anymore. And that was the one bright spot for them. They're now starting to lose it with a combination of torpedo bombers and just overwhelming building of naval factories everywhere on the map from Azuros. Not to say that they have a great chance of winning Navy anytime soon. Rowan still holds the crown for most overall naval units. But right now it's just looking really, really difficult for this northern team to find a way back into this game. It's nearly 24 minutes in, and they are doing their damnedest. And Rowan is trying really hard to rebuild up, get enough AA, but now there's a cruiser in the backline doing damage. Rowan still has nearly 300 mass a second, despite being this destroyed, this hurt, is 300 mass a second, and that is actually just legit generation, 318 generated mass a second, and I think a lot of it is from all of these T2 mechs he's built up in the water. Not to mention the handful of T3s he has on land with capping. And, of course, if you have not watched FAF in a while, you will be very surprised to see this in particular. But yes, you can now cap mechs that are underwater. The mass storage unit is now amphibious, which is very nice. And, of course, we are waiting to see how this game progresses. We really need to see... Basically, we need to see Cupid get into the air game and in a big way. Or just get enough cruisers to stop all of this. Or maybe just go into mass ascendant spam. But as for now, Glassy, he's trying desperately to shut down this production in the northwest corner. He's not making too much headway. He's down to 7 mass a second. He's basically been taken out of the game for all intents and purposes. And as I take a drink, I want to remind you all to stay hydrated and make sure, if you're enjoying this content, if you like these casts, go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and yet again, leave a comment. You all are beautiful, and stay hydrated. Alrighty. With our drinking out of the way, Broadsword's now deciding that the Navy might be the best target. There's really not that much area that they could attack left that doesn't have SAMs dotted around it. And Rowan is re-expanding to the rest of the map. He's basically turned this 2v2 into a 1v2. Well, his opponents have. But he is more than willing, it would seem, to reset himself up, to re-establish this area formerly held by his ally Glassy, and try to get back into this game. Apologies, everybody, for that momentary kind of silence there. My door opened and I had to mute my mic really quick and answer a question. But, of course, we are going to continue in the cast here. Where were we? Well, we have a Zuros now building himself up in the Navy. And overall, it's looking bad for Cupid, but still, he has 500 mass a second by himself. Like, he is not necessarily keeping pace, but he's keeping it close. I mean, overall, with his reclaim, he has managed to keep outpacing the enemy team. He has generated more mass than the enemy team, almost by himself. That's only recently changing over to the other way around. And maybe if he can get set up, maybe if he can continue to build up these T3 mexes, he can just catch up. But his entire enemy's base is pretty much fully T3 now. So he has to be a little bit worried. He's building up his Air Force. It does seem as though he's trying to get on top of that. And he has got quite the Navy built up. He's almost T3 Navy. I think he wants to knock Azuros out of the water one more time. And once that's done, he wants to get Torrents out. That seems like the play for me. But he may have a bit of a difficult time, as right now a massive investment out from Azuros to build an Awasa is underway, and if he is able to build up that weapon of mass destruction here, we may just see the end of this match well before it even really started. It's just, the wind has been taken out of the sails of this northern team. They were doing so well in the water, and now we get to watch a beautiful naval battle take place here. And it just seems as though Azuros, I think he might be overestimating his naval prowess here. Seemed like he wanted to go in, but deciding against it after a short period of time. And over here to the east, mass broadsword, mass torpedo bomber. Oh, wait, 1 second. We gotta get the shot, because here it comes. Come on. Start firing. Why aren't you firing, broadswords? Do it for me. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that is a beautiful shot of UEF domination there. And these broadswords are just slowly picking off many of these naval units. And it just doesn't seem like Cupid, he just doesn't have a way to respond to this. He just doesn't have the air power. He needs more air factories. He needs more air production. Maybe he wants to go for aircraft carriers. He's going for battleships now. But will it be enough? Because with the air power that the southern team currently holds, you'd kind of just expect him to be unable to do anything even with the battleships he's building. And right now, Cupid is, well, he's trying his hardest to make something happen here. He's He's out-ecoed Team 2. He is at a higher eco than Team 2, who have been pretty much unmolested in their main bases for most of the game. He just needs to make something happen with that eco that is unable to be dealt with. The commander of Glassy going into the middle of the navy of Azuros, just sacrificing the commander there in order to kill off at least a few of those boats. And Cupid has built himself up quite heavily in the navy here, but he's just locked into this corner. And there's so much more naval production now for Azuros. He's sitting on Game Ender's level of mass. But how does he want to use it is the question. I think power might be a bigger limiter for him. He has half the power of the enemy team. That's a lot of transports heading out with nothing on them just to get shot down. And more power generators being built up. Anti-nuke built up for Cupid now. Awasa gonna finish momentarily. And that Awasa might be the decider of what happens in this game. How many SAMs does he have and how spread out are there? There are 27 SAMs now on the field for Cupid, and he is pretty well protected in his main base. The overall prowess of this Awasa, I don't think is going to be too terribly great if it tries to go for main base, but if it just goes for the Navy, if it just gives a naval advantage over to Azuros, that could be enough. And now the Awasa traveling its way across the map. Where is its approach vector gonna be? It seems like the Awasa wants to go in. It wants to go for these 4 core mexes. And it may be able to get them. Oh, no, it's gonna go for the air production and a lot of the power generators here, and they're all gonna go down. He just lost T3 air. He's gonna lose a lot of HP on the bomber due to the SAMs, as long as the SAMs are targeted correctly. But the bomb is trying to be hover bombed. He's trying to throw one out the back, and he manages it, killing off a lot of the production on these T3 factories for Cupid. And oh no, yet again, it's a disaster for Cupid. He's fallen behind economically once again because he's now power stalling. Just lost 4 T3 mexes. And it's only the beginning, as this Awasa is just going to continue its reign of terror. And Cupid control Ks in a relatively short game for this channel. I hope you all enjoyed. Please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and thank you to the channel members and Patreons who support this channel so much. They don't make this channel, I make this channel, but they support it quite a bit. And thank you for everybody submitting replays. And if you want to support the channel more, consider the channel membership, the Patreon, or super thanking down below. This is Willow, signing off.